Hello, students. Here's my comments on Chapter 4, Ethics and Social Responsibility. Ethics is a code of moral principles and values that govern behavior as right or wrong. Standards about good and bad. Ethical issues can be complex. People and organizations can have divergent views about right or wrong. So each and every one of us develops a code of morals and a sense of ethics from the day that we were born. And we start out with our parents telling us what is good, what is bad, what to do, what don't do. So in real life, now we have codified laws that tell us what's good, what's bad. We have certain ethical, moral standards, and then we have our own choices that we get to make. Ethical lapses during the last decade have been pervasive. Bernie Madoff, who cheated thousands of people out of millions and millions of dollars. Enron, who broke all kinds of laws, and thousands of people lost their pension, their life savings. We had the bad mortgage paper, where the banks were making money selling mortgages that they knew the people could never pay, and those mortgage papers just all collapsed. So corporations and people had become associated often with greed, deceit, irresponsibility, lack of moral conscience. A lot of popular movies out there. Wolf of Wall Street. Make money however. So managers carry a responsibility for setting an ethical climate. So it's the manager who is looked to set the tone and standards of ethics in a corporation. Ethical manager displays honesty, communicates, is fair, shows kindness and compassion. Ethics and social responsibility are important business issues because people don't like to do business with companies they believe are unethical, unfair, and simply can't be trusted. So, trick question. Okay, so some ethics for decision making, the utilitarian approach. Basically what that says is whatever is good for the most people is ethical. Individualism acts are moral if they promote the individual's long-term interests. Moral rights, you can't take away an individual's right. Justice, based on standards of equity, fairness, and impartiality. Practical approach, bases decisions on prevailing standards, society, and all stakeholders. The old, well, it depends answer. It depends. Well, it doesn't depend. Good is good and bad is bad. What is ethical in terms of moral standards is not necessarily up for debate. So, managers often have to bring their own personality and traits to organization, your personal needs, family influence, and religious background will shape you as an individual in terms of ethical choices. Personality characteristics such as ego, confidence, and dependence enable managers to make good ethical choices. So 3 levels of personal moral development. When you're a little kid, you follow rules to avoid punishment. And then as you get a little older, you live up to the expectations of others. You follow the strictures of society. And then you get to make your own choices. You determine your own principles of justice and right or wrong. So, what is corporate social responsibility? Knowing what is right and what is wrong, being a good corporate citizenship in terms of your relationships to society, making choices that contribute not only to society, but also to your stakeholders. An example of major stakeholders relevant to the Gap Incorporated. Trade unions, partners, governments, employers, customers, lots of stakeholders that want a company to be acting ethically. Green movement, business imperative, change of social attitudes, new governmental policies, interested in climate change, information technology spreads the negative decisions of corporations. You used to be able to hide things, very hard to hide now. And more organizations are embracing the concept of sustainability. Sustainability, this is a new buzzword. Economic development that generates wealth, number one, meets the needs of current generations, number two, while preserving the environment for the needs of future generations. So that's the tough one. Sustainability's big question is to be able to preserve the environment for future generations. It's easy to generate wealth, and it's easy to meet the needs of the current generation, but the third part of that is extremely difficult. Okay. Criteria of good corporate social performance. First of all, let's not make any presumptions except for the fact that the main responsibility of any company is to make a profit, is to pay its stockholders. Right? Companies have a legal responsibility to obey the law. They do have an ethical responsibility to do what is right, and most importantly, to avoid harm, to do no harm. And when they meet all those, then they have the opportunity to have discretionary responsibility. Contribute to the community, be a good corporate citizen, cut your emissions, don't pollute, don't cheat. So, how do companies manage their ethics and social responsibility? Probably the majority of companies have an official code of ethics, a formal statement of the company's values. Ethical structures, they have systems, positions, and programs like ethics training, an ethical officer, a hotline for whistleblowing, so an employee can disclose an illegal, immoral, or illegitimate practice to keep the company on the right track. So ethical organization, to have one, you need good leadership, good ethical leadership, hopefully a code of ethics that everyone can read, understand, and agree upon. Maybe an ethics committee to make sure that there's input. Chief ethics officer to watch over the operations. A hotline where people can report something that is unethical or not right. And most corporations do annual ethics training. And good companies will support whistleblowers rather than fire them and throw them into the street. Okay, so ethics is a major issue since the Bernie Madoffs, the Enron, and then of course the bad mortgages, which caused not only companies but countries around the world to collapse. Because the bankers wanted to sell more mortgages and make the commissions, they started accepting people who obviously couldn't pay those mortgages. So you have Iceland, Greece, Portugal, all suffering tremendous financial and economic problems because they bought our bad paper. They bought those mortgages. Okay. So ethics is an important component of being a good manager.